guys, it's Adam. I've been meaning to keep you updated, but it's difficult for me to sit down and set up the camera and everything, so I'll just film it like this. I'm off Wellbutrin, which is why I'm parallel right now. I have no dopamine really going. I started Parnate, tranylcypromine, which is a very potent antidepressant that's very rarely prescribed. It has a lot of contraindications. You have to be careful about what you eat. If you eat certain things, you can have a hypertensive crisis. So it's at the back of the list of antidepressants to try when you're refractory to antidepressants, like I am. When you've tried, I've tried 3 SSRIs and 3 rounds of TMS and Wellbutrin. Wellbutrin was the closest thing to tickling the depression, but didn't really do much. Just made me socially awkward, which has gone away, which is nice. Hopefully you can tell. Probably not, but and so the options were like, well, we could try another antidepressant, or we could augment antidepressants, like the Wellbutrin or something else. But I bought a textbook on this stuff, reading about the algorithms of how to treat depression, and read through the STAR*D trial, and each time you try a different antidepressant or you augment with something else, the odds of remission just keep going down. So you're just kind of fighting a losing battle. It's possible you strike gold, but my depression is just so bad that I asked my psychiatrist, I was like, can we attack this with a little bit of a different pharmacological approach? Because he was recommending an SNRI, and I was like, we've already tried something with serotonin, SSRI, and norepinephrine, Wellbutrin. Neither of those have really worked. I especially don't respond well to an SSRI. So I asked about Parnate, and he agreed to do Parnate, which I'm really grateful for. So Parnate's different than like an SSRI or an NDRI, where it inhibits reuptake of certain neurotransmitters like norepinephrine or dopamine or serotonin in the synapse. Instead, Parnate goes into the neuron, and it's an MAOI inhibitor, so it inhibits an enzyme that destroys norepinephrine, dopamine, and serotonin when it's been re-uptook, I guess, back into the synapse, back into the neuron. And so then there's more of those, all 3 neurotransmitters available to be released into the synapse. So it has a little bit of a different mechanism of action. So right now, the first thing that really goes up is norepinephrine. So I get quite a bit of a buzz that does fade over time, but it comes with no serious antidepressant effects because the serotonin and the dopamine tone lag behind. It's mostly just stimulating. But over the next 2 to 4 weeks, especially since I stopped Wellbutrin, my dopamine tone is quite low. But my dopamine system and serotonin will come back online, and that'll balance out the buzz and also give me more drive and an antidepressant effect, especially once I titrate up to a more therapeutic dose. Right now I'm at 20 milligrams. So it's a bit of a bumpy onboarding process, switching from Wellbutrin to this medication, especially since I just got over olanzapine withdrawals, which were a whole month of hell, dude. I can't even explain. It was terrible. This is not the medication you go to your psychiatrist when you first show up depressed and ask, hey, can I try Parnate? It's kind of at the back of the list. It's, less than 1% of all prescribed antidepressants are MAOIs, and there's different types, but Parnate being usually the first choice. And so I think it'll, I have hope that it'll really help, especially once the dopamine tone increases. But yeah, most psychiatrists steer clear of it because of if there's too much tyramine in foods, which there are in a lot of aged foods like cured meats or aged cheese or certain beers or certain cheeses. I don't know if I said that already. It can cause a hypertensive crisis, so I have to monitor my blood pressure quite frequently. And a lot of clinicians do not want to take on that responsibility, that liability. But I'm not stupid. I've read religiously about this medication, and I respect the medication. I do not take it lightheartedly. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I'm a little bit kind of stuck in bed, mostly because of the Wellbutrin. I just don't have any dopamine going. But over the next 4 weeks, when my dopamine systems come back online, and then at the same time, this Parnate will start increasing dopamine tone at the same time, so it'll increase the amount of dopamine that's available in the neuron to be released into the synapse. That's when you start getting more of the antidepressant effect as well as with the serotonin too. So we're attacking it from a different angle this time around, and I think that's promising, and I'm really grateful to my psychiatrist for being willing to try this medication out. So I'm on 20 milligrams right now, which is day 5 of taking it, and the norepinephrine buzz is quite strong. Doesn't do anything. It's just very stimulating for the most part. But being off Wellbutrin, even though like leaves me pretty much like this, is quite nice because it was making me socially dumb as hell, and I am not a socially dumb person in general, and it was painful, and it was making me irritable and stuff, and it was just being on it for 2.5 months, it was like getting worse. So even at a low dose of 150 milligrams, I couldn't tolerate 300 milligrams. So even the norepinephrine buzz from this, which Wellbutrin also increases, the inhibition of the reuptake of norepinephrine, it's much smoother. It's still pretty intense, and it does fade over time, anecdotally and through some research, but it fades over time, that kind of stimulant feeling. I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, it also has a little bit of an amphetamine-like structure to the molecule, so initially it does give you a bit of an amphetamine-like buzz very briefly. Like the first day I took it, I was up cleaning like crazy. I was also coming off Wellbutrin. Now, Wellbutrin and this medication are contraindicated, so no way should you be taking Wellbutrin anywhere close to taking this medication like I did. However, the reason it's contraindicated is mostly theoretical, in the sense that it can increase the potential for having a hypertensive crisis if you eat tyramine foods, or I've read other reasons that the FDA just black boxed it. None of it makes sense. Plenty of people anecdotally take Wellbutrin and this medication at the same time, and so I actually did a no washout period, and I had no ill effects. My blood pressure was just fine and everything. I just couldn't not have something. I couldn't do a washout period because that would risk hospitalization if I had no cushion whatsoever. So I, stopped Wellbutrin and immediately started the Parnate at a very low dose. So it'll be, it'll take 4 full weeks before everything's kind of up and running, and by that point I'll probably be on 30 milligrams of Parnate, which is tranylcypromine, and if I'm not having antidepressant effects, although I feel much better, then we can titrate up. And while you're titrating up, you want to watch blood pressure, because one indication that it's taking good effect is if you have orthostatic hypotension. Not too much, but some, where you have lower blood pressure when you stand up versus when you're sitting. So you take your blood pressure when you're sitting, and then you stand up and take your blood pressure again, and you want to see kind of a systolic drop of 10 to 15 millimeters of mercury. You start going past 20, and you might want to hold for a while or go back down. Anyway, it's an interesting drug because no one really talks about it. But the community on Reddit is incredibly helpful, insightful, and but I know it's one of the nicest communities I've interacted with on Reddit. I've even spoken with the mods, and they've been helpful. And so it's just a bumpy handoff going from olanzapine withdrawals and then diving straight into Wellbutrin withdrawals and then onboarding this medication. So it's going to be a little bumpy, and I expected that 100%. I was not naive. I'm not expecting magic. And I know it's going to take some weeks before I feel better, and that's okay. And, this may not be a silver bullet, or it may, but it may not be. But I do expect it to make me feel better and at least have some initiative to accomplish basic tasks and hopefully really get back to work because I'm dying to get back to work. I have no motivation. I'm tired all the time because my dopamine's tanked. Eric is doing pretty well. He's working. He did almost a full work week, 4 days this last week as a ophthalmic tech, and he's just destroying it. And he's doing another 4-day work week this next week. And I mean, he's burnt out. His brain is fried out and everything, but he's doing quite well. He's engaged in everything. He's kind of taken a different route where we're both on testosterone replacement therapy and have been for about 5 months, and he just increased his dose some, which I think increased dopamine tone for him and has really been helpful in mitigating his depression. And I think for both of us, encephalitis really wrecked our dopamine systems, and that's kind of the primary culprit. For me, I had a car crash a while back before I went inpatient, and because I was not safe to be alone, and I had an olfactory hallucination for 7 days after, so I smelled something that wasn't there. And ever since then, my depression has been just so bad, like way worse than usual. And so I think it kind of puts me in a little bit of a different category than Eric, and so we've kind of diverged in our tactics on handling our depression. But I just want to say, Eric, as far as things go right now, he's doing quite well. There's a lot of room for improvement, and if Parnate works well for me, he may end up getting on it as well. But for right now, he's functional enough to do a job, even though it's quite taxing and painful in a lot of ways. And he's engaged to a wonderful woman, and I'm really proud of him, and he's doing great. So I'm sorry I'm recording on my phone. This is not how I wanted to record it. I'm just, as you can see, I'm finding it a little bit difficult to do much. Even taking the dog out is a hurdle. It's not even like my depression is. Honestly, my depression feels a little better, but it's just when your dopamine is tanked, you have zero motivation, and so, like, even taking little Miss Penny out here, right here, thank God she loves napping, but taking her out is exhausting. It's just my limbs feel like 1,000,000 pounds, but I knew it was going to be a rough handoff, and so I fully expected this, and I went through 4 weeks of nightmare olanzapine withdrawals. I can go through 4 weeks of waiting for my dopamine tone to come back online. So yeah, Parnate's a very interesting drug in the way it irreversibly inhibits those enzymes that break down those neurotransmitters that are commonly reduced in depressed people, and it's a very potent antidepressant. And by irreversible, I mean it basically locks onto those enzymes and renders them useless until through DNA transcription, your body recreates new enzymes to break down those neurotransmitters. So it's once you get pretty saturated, if I were to stop, it would take a while for my body to reproduce the enzymes to start breaking down those neurotransmitters. Of course, you'd want to taper. This medication is very potent, and coming off cold turkey would be a death sentence. So it's, I kind of like evaluated my options, and I was like, well, it's either this or I do ECT. But if I do ECT, which is I can never say it, electroconvulsive therapy, induce a like 1 minute intentional seizure while you're under general anesthesia. It has a high remission rate, but it also has a high relapse rate. In addition to that, you can have memory loss, including autobiographical memory loss, which can be very mild or it can be severe. And if you go in with a lower cognitive status, it can cause even worse cognitive issues. And I don't want to do that with my brain that's so sensitive, especially if TMS that one time kind of blew a gasket on my brain. If TMS can do it, I don't know. I'm a little scared about what an intentional seizure could do. So I didn't want to do that. Then there's ketamine. Ketamine probably has a higher chance of remission, but even a higher chance of relapse. It's mostly used as a bridge to get to other longer term solutions, and other people can give me more information about that if they disagree. But that's what I found from talking to other people and through research. And then you start getting to weirder stuff. So I could do psilocybin, but your psilocybin is directly contraindicated if you have any history of psychosis, which I do. And I'm a little worried with having so much like trauma and having gone through psychosis by doing a hallucinogen. I've done plenty of psilocybin in the past. I know exactly what it's like. I don't know what it's like with my current headspace and my perceptual problems and all the trauma and all the nightmares I've seen and everything. I just, a lot of people get a good amount out of it, but my dark history I just don't want to have a disruptive psychological experience, doing psilocybin. So that's on the back burner. And then you start getting into really weird stuff like deep brain stimulation, which requires like actual brain surgery to put electrodes on your brain. And the remission rate isn't even that high, but that's for when you start running out of options, you start doing crazy stuff. So, I've evaluated all my options. I could start, I could have before this, I could have started augmenting with other medications. So switching from Wellbutrin to an SNRI and an SSRI or whatever, or lithium and SNRI and lithium and stuff. But I just had very little hope. The STAR-D trials, like I said, remission rates start going down the more you start switching around and the more you start augmenting. I was like, I think we need to take a more powerful, different pharmacological approach in order to treat this depression to get my life back on track. I'm still a little confused as to why the depression has gotten so bad. Aside from that car crash, like it was just kind of a downhill trajectory. TMS worked pretty much all 3 times, but just fell apart all 3 times, especially this last time. I did kind of a compressed TMS schedule over 2 weeks and focus just on mood circuits and to avoid overstimulating my brain like I did the second time. And I entered remission, and as soon as I got home, it disappeared within days. My depression came back, and I couldn't have stayed any longer because by the time I got home, I couldn't handle long conversations. My brain had started frying out, so my brain's really sensitive to stimulation like that. And so going back to New York and doing that again, way on the back burner. I could always try TMS locally that's not fMRI guided. And so that's an option, even as an augmentation. But something to keep in mind is that they use, oh boy, it's been a while since I read about it, but to measure your cortical excitability, they stimulate your motor cortex until they see basically a twitch in your thumb. They keep increasing the intensity until they see a twitch in your thumb, and then they decide that's the intensity they'll use to hit your right dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which is very heavily associated with depression and mood. But I'm very twitchy. The motor cortex does not apply to my entire brain. In fact, it would be probably hyper responsive to stimulation compared to a normal person with major depressive disorder. So I'm not sure if that would be accurate or not. But that said, I still have that on the back burner, and I'd probably try that next, either solo or as an augmentation before anything else. But I'm getting ahead of myself because I have, plenty of time for Parnate to kick in and take effects. All I got to do is watch what I eat and not take pseudoephedrine and some other medications. The main risk with Parnate is if you took an SSRI, it could kill you because you'd have serotonin toxicity or serotonin syndrome. You cannot take an SSRI or an SRI, as some people call it, on this medication. Holy shit, I've been talking for 20 minutes. Okay, I think that sums up my situation rather well. I've switched from journaling in a journal to journaling onto cassette tape, which is better for me because I do better talking than I do writing. Actually, it helps me process things better. And it's the weirdest, jankiest setup. I have like this cassette player plugged in with an aux cord to like a guitar aux into my audio interface, which is hooked up to my computer with a digital audio workstation open and an audio recording track set and primed for recording, and then it records onto the cassette player. It's like it took me a minute to figure it out. It's the weirdest setup ever, but I record about 30 minutes every night, and so 30 minutes on A side, 30 minutes on B side, that's 2 days, so every 2 days I have a tape. So I don't know, maybe down the road when I'm older and where my kids want to, they can go back and listen to basically any day in my life. I'm gonna have stacks of tapes. In addition, I got my ability to feel nicotine back, which is a real plus. I miss nicotine. Being sober sucks. I can't have alcohol. I already wake up feeling hungover, so if I had alcohol, it would kill me. And of course, with PTSD and everything I've been through, I'd immediately become an alcoholic. Isn't that right, Penny? All right. So can't touch the stuff. Too high risk. All things considered, I am doing okay, and I expect to be doing much better here in 4 weeks. And I just wanted to give you guys an update because I swear to God, I've been dying to just sit down and talk into the camera, but everything is just even taking my medications or making breakfast. It's just a hurdle. It's not, my depression feels somewhat better, but, my dopamine is tanked coming off of Wellbutrin, and it takes a while for Parnate to increase dopamine tone. It increases norepinephrine really quick, but dopamine tone not so much. And so it's going to be tanked for at least a couple weeks now. So when you don't have much dopamine, you don't have much initiative or drive or motivation. So it's just difficult to do things. So anyway, that's the update on me. And I'm hopeful this medication helps. I'm not a fan of medication, but my depression was so bad, dude. It was getting like psychotically depressed. I was having really weird thoughts of like just turning off my phone, or like listening to music and just walking until my phone dies, or just taking my car, my dog, and just driving somewhere. I don't even know where. This is like it's not technically psychotic depression because I'm not having like total delusions or hallucinations, but it was like, kind of brushing on the edge of like, what are these thoughts, dude? They're so intense. And like my brain felt so numb, and I told Eric it was like, how my vision looks, which is really fucked up as a sequelae from autoimmune encephalitis, is how my brain feels. It's not like standard depression. It's not like emptiness and apathy and everything. I do have anhedonia, but it's like, I can't even put it into words. It's like depression with some agitation and just like sludge. Like my brain is complete sludge, and maybe some people can relate to that. Maybe I've never had this severe level of depression in my life, but it's brutal. So I was like, let's switch things up. I don't want to start trying things that have a less and less probability of success. I want to try a different pharmacological approach with a different mechanism of action. That really does boost dopamine, because I feel like that is a very core issue with my depression, is a lack of dopamine. I think that's evident through Eric's success with increasing his testosterone dose, which increases, a lot of things with dopamine, tone as well. So with it being 25 minutes, I'm going to sign off for now, and hopefully next time I'll be sitting in front of a camera. But I appreciate you guys listening. I appreciate you guys caring. And I care about all you guys, and I hope you're doing okay. And if you're not, I want you to hang in there. I know people personally that are really struggling that I'm talking to, and I'm just trying to be I don't know, the best support I can for them, but just find somebody that can support you. It can just be one person. Um, I was speaking to a family member who was that one person for somebody whose husband died by just a freak accident. And she was just losing her mind, and my family member, kind of a distant family member, just showed up for her regularly, no matter what. And that's all. I mean, it's amazing what one person can do. So if you can find one person, or you can be that one person, uh, find that one person or be that one person. And you can save a life by being that one person. You don't have to take on all their burdens or all their struggles, but just by being there and being someone to give them space and listen to and understand, and not try to jump in with solutions, but just hear them. Is so important, so important. Um, I live completely alone, but I have a good support system as far as family goes, and that means a lot. And um, yeah, so I love you guys, and I just am astounded by how much you guys care and are willing to even listen to me talk about this kind of stuff. And I wish you the best, and I think in 4 weeks I'll be doing much better. Maybe in remission, but maybe not. Maybe 50% better. I don't know, but I'll take whatever I can get. I can go pretty far with a little bit of relief. Like, it doesn't take a whole lot of relief before I'm, up and doing a lot of shit. So that, to me, that says a lot about my current state. I'm just kind of covered in tar. But I'm great. I'm just grateful for you guys, and yeah, I'm just grateful for you guys, I guess. And I feel for the people that are struggling out there, because people struggle in such unique ways, and sometimes they feel like people can't relate to them. And it's true. Like, there's certain struggles where it's just like impossible to understand. Um, but there are people that can understand that you're struggling, and sometimes that's enough. Like when I had encephalitis, of course Eric understood, but my therapist at the time, he or my mom, they couldn't understand what I was going through. Nobody understands still what exactly I went through, but they knew I was suffering, and that was enough. That's all I needed, was someone to believe me and understand how severe the suffering was, not to understand exactly what the suffering was like. And so again, just if you can find that person or be that person, either one. Don't overlook people who are struggling. I sure did before any of this happened. I was in my own world. I didn't. I can think of real examples where people were obviously struggling around me, and I just at work, and I just clocked off and went home. I would never do that now. Um, and I hope soon I can be back on my feet a little bit more, so I can help the people that I know that are struggling in my life. And anyway, okay, I'll leave it there. It's been almost 30 minutes, and I'll keep you guys updated. And I love each and every one of you so much. Just the comments and the care and everything is just astounding to me. And I still don't understand. I still don't understand it. I don't understand it. I can't grasp it, but I just want to continue to share my story for whatever. I guess it's doing some good for some people, and maybe people are interested, and maybe they've tried everything, but they've never heard of an MAOI, and maybe that's something you can look for. On the subreddit, there's doctors that they have a list of MAOI. What would you say? Friendly doctors, because there's not most steer clear of it. So if you're desperate and on your last leg and you've tried everything, even for some people, I'd probably say try ECT first, but my brain's just so sensitive to stimulation. There's always options, I guess is what I'm saying. There's always the next step. You never run out of options. And I told myself I'm not going to leave this world until I've tried everything. And there's a lot of things to try, and so I'm sticking around, fellas, whether you like it or not. With all that said, I love you very much, and I hope you have a good start to the week. And I hope to talk to you again soon here. Um, Feeling much better. Uh, Again, I don't feel as depressed as I was, so already the norepinephrine like helps a little bit, but it's mostly stimulating, and I'm still anhedonic, so it's like stimulating with no pleasurable feelings or anything. But I'd rather feel a little stimulated than feel the absolute devastation of Wellbutrin withdrawals and horrific depression together. So I had to kind of bridge it that way. Do not recommend it. It's contraindicated. Don't do it. I took a risk by doing that. So yeah, that's all I have to say. And yeah, if you have any questions about type of medication, just go on Reddit, the MAOI subreddit. People are extremely helpful and stuff, and I'll read the comments and reply as best I can. I've read up on this medication a lot. I take it very seriously. I've bought a couple research articles. I've bought a textbook and read through the textbook and everything. And depends what country you actually read about, but they have different algorithms for treating depression. Like in Australia, I definitely meet the criteria for an MAOI. In America, it's like, well, you try ECT and some other things, and then land on an MAOI, like augmentation and stuff. But I was just like, can we skip the augmentation? I don't have time in my life to try things that have diminishing returns. So, okay, love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you soon. This is Adam. Peace out.